If you need some. So first question is, what drove you to consider starting an influencer marketing campaign?
Yeah, so as I don't know if it's just because I'm an established millennial or my personality, but I'm somebody who follows several influencers myself. So I can certainly see the value in an authentic influencer partnership. My first influencer recommendation actually derived from our client, Atlantic Lottery. They wanted to start a conversation with their millennial consumers and were looking for an innovative way to do so.
Mm-hmm.
I personally grew up with parents who bought their Lotto 649 tickets weekly, so I'm also a regular player. And for me, it's just a great way to have a little bit of entertainment while also helping my local community. I think for a lot of millennials, especially in that sort of 19 to 24 demographic, they aren't really as familiar with lottery. And I don't really think that they understand the value that lottery actually provides for the community.
Mm-hmm.
So we recommended an influencer campaign to start that conversation with a younger user through relevant and engaging content.
Cool. Awesome.
Was that too scripted?
Pardon?
Was that too scripted?
No, that sounds great. You answered the question perfectly. So can you describe the influencer marketing campaign #paid helped you implement, and what were the highlights of that campaign?
Absolutely. So due to age restrictions with working with lottery, we have a really strict 19 plus target. So our current campaign is running with 100% branded and natively amplified content targeted at millennials in Atlantic Canada. Mm-hmm. And #paid was really instrumental in finding the best influencers to help us in our efforts to create beautiful lottery-centered content while also working really closely with us to develop that strategy. Because of those age restrictions, it was really important to have that sort of support in making sure that we were reaching a 19-plus audience, but still finding really authentic influencers to leverage. Mm-hmm. Overall, we're far exceeding our pre-campaign benchmarks, coming in at a really effective cost per engagement and also exceeding industry standard engagement rates, mm-hmm. which is fantastic for our clients.
Awesome. Okay, and what are your thoughts on influencer marketing in general?
So previous to my role at Time and Space Media, I completed my Master's of Science in Consumer Psychology. Mm-hmm. And so my degree taught me that a key pillar to successful marketing is actually building relevant and authentic relationships with your consumers. In terms of audience, I think that there really has been a clear shift in the way that we're consuming media. Specifically, I think there's a lot of attention being averted away from more traditional media channels, especially with younger demographics, towards social media. And as somebody that works in social media, obviously quite heavily, we're even seeing a large shift in sort of that older demographic in becoming more involved in social media as well. Especially in Instagram, there's been such a shift in that 55-plus audience moving towards Instagram, which is actually really great for an influencer campaign.
Yeah.
And today, where we're living in a world of endless information, mm-hmm. I think consumers are looking to fellow consumers to inform purchasing decisions. And as a marketer, I think it's important to really capitalize on this opportunity to leverage, that attention of potential consumers on social channels for our clients.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So leading into what challenges did #paid help you solve in connection to influencer marketing?
So that kind of actually goes really well with what I just said earlier. Yeah. Sort of, and with my thoughts of influencer marketing, sort of going back to that too, I really think that the key to a successful influencer marketing campaign lies in finding a really authentic influencer. And I think that the Achilles heel of sorts of influencer marketing is that with so many marketers jumping on the bandwagon, it's becoming increasingly important to make sure that both the influencer that you select and their content is as relevant to the brand's target audience as possible. Mm-hmm. And authenticity is really key to successful influencer campaigns. So obviously this is a perfect segue because I really think that influencer marketing can kind of seem like a daunting task with a lot of day-to-day management for a marketer. Yeah. And I believe a lot of advertisers often even overlook the amount of management that it requires. Mm-hmm. So for me, #paid's been really instrumental in making, my campaigns or our campaigns as successful as possible in terms of working in collaboration with our team, mm-hmm. Specifically in finding those perfect influencers for our clients, yeah. But also managing a lot of that day-to-day, really risk management.
Mm-hmm. So. Awesome. So that covers perfectly the next question. So we'll go on to the second last one, which is, what do you think the future of influencer marketing is and its effect on traditional marketing?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I really do believe there's a clear shift in the way that we are consuming media. Mm-hmm. I love this study. There was a recent study by Google that suggested that the current attention span of an adult human is 8 seconds, which is down from 14 seconds last year. So it's becoming increasingly important to think as innovatively as possible to connect with consumers. Mm-hmm. And I think influencer marketing does a really great job at that, since consumers are already leaning into that content. So from there, I suspect that influencer marketing will play at least a small role in helping to shift the way marketers think about reaching their consumers. And I really believe that will inevitably have some effect on the way that we leverage traditional marketing channels.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And what would you share with any other marketers considering running an influencer marketing program with #paid?
As humans, we're naturally risk averse. Yeah. And my advice to other marketers is pretty simple. It's to take the risk and test the waters. And I really think that people will be surprised with what you find. And if you're looking for a collaborative and insightful team to take the plunge, then you've come to the right place with #paid.
Awesome. It's funny. I spoke with Sean yesterday, and he actually said something very similar about, saying yes to influencer marketing, like not being closed off to it. So it's awesome to hear you guys are aligned on that level. That's great answers. Any last thoughts? Do you want to add?
No, I think that covered it. I had some notes about in terms of my thoughts on influencer marketing or its impact.
I'd love to hear that. If you want to speak to the impact of influencer marketing, that'd be great.
Well, I think I just want to make sure I covered everything. I think I said, so obviously influencer marketing will have such a great effect on engagement with the brand, and I think that that's really key in helping to develop and build those relationships with consumers in a really authentic way. Mm-hmm. I think we're seeing such great success in terms of reaching a younger audience that is somewhat difficult to reach because of all of the noise in the industry. Mm-hmm. And finding that great way to sort of engage with them is really important.